I'm Leo Walder for Kit Guru, and this case is chock full of brand new Corsair ML fans. ML stands for magnetic levitation, not maglev like the trains, because that's a trademark kind of thing, same technology kind of, but we have to refer to it as magnetic levitation. I'm not going to, it's too much of a mouthful. ML it is. ML is significant, Corsair tells me, and I grab here a standard Corsair SP fan and a new Corsair ML. Look approximately similar, both in 120. They are actually very different, as the close-ups will show you. The significant difference is the motor. When the thing's running on 12-volt PWM, it rides on air because the magnetic force separates the bearings. There are all sorts of bearings you get in motors, sleeve bearings, ball bearings, fluid bearings. This one literally rides on air, therefore is quieter. Corsair is very, very excited about this technology. I can understand why they're pushing it, because new licensed technology. It's not a new technology, it's one of those licensed, but it's new to this computer case fans. I'm going to explain a bit why I actually think of these fans, the ML part of it is actually the least interesting aspect, although I can understand why it's a clever marketing hook. So what we have here is a Be Quiet Dark-Base 900 case. I've used it because it's big, it's open, it's got loads of fan mounting, and I've put in 3 Corsair ML fans. At the front we've got a red and a blue, as you can see by the colours. It might not be apparent, but the rear case fan is an ML black, also 140. And then on the Corsair H100i V2 240mm all-in-one cooler, it's a mouthful, we have 2 more of the ML fans, this time in 120. White and blue, I imagine, seeing as I've got the red and the black in front of me. And the other hardware, we've got a Seasonic Prime power supply, which is utterly quiet. We've got a Gigabyte X99 UD4 motherboard, LGA 2011, that's significant, I'll come to that in a bit. Core i7 5820K, and a whole stack of very pretty Corsair DDR4 memory with flashing LEDs. Bit of an LED theme, as you can see. So getting back to the fans, the important information is this, that you get the fans Pro and Pro with LED, and there's also a non-Pro that they haven't quite explained that you can buy in a 2-pack, which is a bit cheaper. So you get 120 Pro LED, that's white, blue or red, a Pro without LED, which therefore is black, and there's also a common or garden. They're quite expensive, they're in the 18 to 20 pounds territory, and a pack of the non-Pros, again not quite sure what's going on with those, 22 pounds, so therefore significantly cheaper. The 140s, same deal, so the 140mm Pro without LEDs, £20, and then if you add LEDs, £22, and the 2-pack non-pros, £25. £20 that LED, £22 with. A lot of money, and if you're therefore to put these fans in this case £100 worth, which is clearly a lot of money and frankly a bit silly. What these fans bring to the party, a massive range of speeds. The 120s go from 400 RPM to 2,400 RPM. The 140mm, 400 RPM to 2,000 RPM. A colossal range. Now, the marketing sort of suggests that because of the magnetic levitation bearing, they can spin to this higher speed and you don't suffer the noise because of the clever technology. I'm not convinced by that for the simple reason that the vast majority of the noise you hear once a fan is spinning is actually air going through things, through the fan blades, the blades themselves, air passing between the fan and the ring around the outside, passing through your case, all sorts of things. The motor is almost silent. It is there, it is significant, but it's a trivial part. You spin your fan at 2,000 RPM, if you can hear the motor, it's about to blow to pieces. So that is but a mere detail. We'll park that. The fact that these things spin to such a high speed I consider to be more or less an irrelevance, because you'd be deafened, as I will demonstrate shortly. More significantly, Corsair has typically 2 ranges of fans. AF for airflow, which are the thin bladed jobs you stick in your case. SP static pressure, the wide jobs. This is a static pressure fan that came with the H100i liquid cooler as stock. I've obviously switched it for the ML. These MLs are hybrid fans. We've seen this from a couple of the manufacturers. Noctua springs to mind, where they've gone for a fan that isn't as good at either job as the either AF or SP in the case of Corsair, but it does a pretty darn good job in any configuration. You want to whack it in the case, it does a job. Put it on the radiator, yeah, you're there as well. And I like that. I like that a huge amount. One fan to rule them all, as it were. You just have to pick the colour of the LED that you want. Also, the power draw appears to have dropped with this new motor, and I imagine with some tinkering with the electronics. Power draws dropped from 3.5 watts down to about 3 watts, judging by the labels and my maths, which is a small amount but worth having. So, how do they operate? Let me just show you what the noise is like. I've got the H100i, the Link software is set to quiet mode. Quiet mode is the only mode that I personally would use on Link because it is pretty darn silent. The case, as you can see, is open, necessary because I had to take the glass panel off because otherwise it just reflects like crazy. So I don't have the option of having it sealed. With the side panel on, it is really, really quiet. I've also taken the door off to give me access to a switch at the front, so I'm cheating slightly. I'll hold up the Kit Guru microphone of power to the vents on the top of the case. And it is quiet. It's unnaturally quiet in the sense that the door's off, so I'm hearing more than I normally hear, but it's quiet. Now, if I use the Link software, I'll hold the microphone up and I'll go quiet. I'm going to use the Link software to change from quiet mode to performance mode. And back to quiet. Now, the significant thing there is that when the 120 fans are operating on quiet mode, the ML fans, they're operating at 1000 RPM. When I go up to performance mode, they go to 1800 RPM. There's a mode in between the two, but essentially it's really low or highs. What I've tended to use these coolers on in the past, it works perfectly well. With the LGA 2011 Core i7 5820K, quiet mode is absolutely adequate. You save but a tiny few degrees if you kick up to performance mode. It really is not worth the extra noise. And the problem here is that most people watching this video probably do not use LGA 2011. Most people use LGA 11, 55, 51, whatever it might be. Core i7, 4th gen, 5th gen, or maybe, or not 5th gen, didn't really happen, or Skylake. And the problem is the CPUs are fairly cruddy. The packaging is dreadful. They don't shift heat out. So the CPU sits there at 60, 70 degrees, maybe even 80 if you're really hammering the thing. And you think, oh, I need more cooling. You crank up the cooling. It doesn't really help the CPU because it doesn't get out, the temperature doesn't get out of the packaging. So running your CPU fan, or your liquid cooler fans at higher speed doesn't really help much because the CPU is the problem. In the case of LGA 2011, the packaging is really good. The processor idles around 30 degrees. Put it under load, 40 degrees. Really hammer it overclocked, 50 degrees. It's a totally different world to the LGA 11.5X. The standard desktop processors. And in fact, Corsair's reviewer's guide for the ML fans refers to this. It says, please use this type of processor or the 6 series. So that's what I've done. That'll be my choice anyway, because it actually shows what the cooling is doing. Now, the point therefore is, this noise level is what I would expect to have at any time, because kicking up to performance is totally unnecessary. I don't need the noise, the cooling I get, the benefit I get is trivial. There's another aspect to all this, which is, as I mentioned, these are 12-volt PWM fans, and therefore you have to run them off a proper controller to get the right job. Now, at the moment, I've got the fan controller in this case turned down low. If you keep an eye as I kick it up, you will see that the lights actually change, and that's because this controller quite clearly is not doing a proper PWM job, which surprised me somewhat. Therefore, the voltage is varying. That's the point. And Corsair is adamant that they on the case fans, the liquid cooler is fine. On the case fans, therefore, as I crank up the fan controller, the lights will change, and you'll hear the noise difference. And here we go with the microphone near the case fans. And that's my point. about the fact that these fans can spin to 2000 RPM or 2400 RPM, which is that, quite bluntly, I don't much care. My takeaway from that is that if you want to operate your fans at that speed, you're either a sucker for punishment and or you're running the wrong processor. If you're not using LGA 2011 Core i7 and you're faffing around with your cooling, move your platform, sort out your X99 motherboard, X79 if you must, and then you can worry about the fine details. So there we go. That's my take on Corsair ML. A bit around the houses, but the magnetic levitation aspect is, to me, fairly trivial. The details of what they've done with the hardware, the reshaping of the housings, the changes here and everywhere, I think are very good. The hybrid fan aspect I like a great deal. If it means that we can ditch airflow, static pressure, fans and just go for one hybrid, blooming great. The fact they cost a fair amount of money, that is a bit unfortunate, but I can live with that because I'm thinking in terms of you buying 2 of these babies to go on your liquid cooler rather than packing out your entire case with the blessed things. What you do far better to do is to buy a case such as this Be Quiet and just use the stock Be Quiet case fans. That'll save you 60 quid right there. Overall, I like the new fans, provided you can park the ML aspect of it and focus on the goodies. They're really rather good. They are not, however, bringing anything radical and new to the market. They are a breath of fresh air. I'm Leo Walder for Kit Guru. This is Corsair ML.